These are not three separate devices. This is one device, and we are calling it iPhone.
Steve Jobs gave the world the iPhone, a device that sparked a revolution. But it was Tim Cook who turned that revolution into a global empire that would change society itself. This isn't just the story of a device, it's the story of the two completely different legacies that define it. It's almost hard to remember, but before 2007, the world of mobile phones was a mess. Our phones were a clumsy jumble of compromises. They had tiny plastic keyboards, web browsers that barely worked, and cameras that felt like a total afterthought. We had to carry a whole collection of gadgets, a phone for calls, an iPod for music, a separate camera for photos. That was the cluttered, disconnected reality Apple was about to completely shatter. Deep inside its Cupertino headquarters, a secret team was burning the midnight oil on Project Purple. The pressure on them was insane. Their goal wasn't just to build a better phone, it was to create a whole new kind of device, something that felt as intuitive as talking and as powerful as a computer. Leading the charge was Steve Jobs, a visionary famous for his intense style and an absolute obsession with perfection. He drove his team to the brink, micromanaging every last detail because he didn't just see a product, he saw the future. Then, January 9th, 2007 arrived. Standing on a bare stage, Jobs gave the presentation of a lifetime. He didn't just announce a new gadget. He famously declared, "This is one device: an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator." The original iPhone felt like magic. It introduced a multi-touch screen that was like a natural extension of your own hand. For the first time, it put the real internet right into your pocket. In its first year, Apple sold over 1.4 million of them. It was a hell of a debut, but what came next changed everything. A year later, with the iPhone 3G, the App Store was born. It launched with only 500 apps, but in a single week, users downloaded them over 10 million times. This was the masterstroke. Jobs hadn't just built a successful product, he had built a platform. He created an entire economy that let developers, from huge companies to tiny startups, build businesses directly on his creation. This app economy kicked off a whole new era, creating jobs in brand new industries, from ride-sharing to social media. The Jobs era was all about a relentless chase for the perfect product, and it all peaked with the iPhone 4. With its surgical-grade steel frame and a retina display so sharp you couldn't see the pixels, it felt more like a piece of jewelry than a phone. But this was also the phone that gave us Antenna Gate, where holding it the wrong way could make it drop calls. It was a classic Jobs moment, a design so beautiful and uncompromising that it almost backfired. And yet it was still a massive success, cementing the iPhone's status as a true cultural icon. This was the first legacy, the legacy of a visionary obsessed with creating the perfect device. A leader who, through pure force of will, made a product that not only redefined his company, but started a global revolution. But with the visionary gone, many wondered if Apple's magic had disappeared with him. On August 24, 2011, Steve Jobs resigned as CEO, and his hand-picked successor, Tim Cook, took over. Could a man known for supply chains really fill the shoes of a master showman? We'll get into how the iPhone was turned into a global empire, but first, if you're enjoying this trip through tech history, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps us make more deep dives just like this one. Tim Cook was the total opposite of Steve Jobs. Where Jobs was a fiery, product-obsessed visionary, Cook was a calm, pragmatic, and more democratic leader focused on operations. He was the guy who joined Apple back in 1998 and turned its messy manufacturing process into a brutally efficient, world-class supply chain. His first challenge wasn't to reinvent the iPhone, but to scale it. And scale it he did. But Cook's leadership wasn't just about being efficient. It was about listening. While Jobs famously laughed off the idea of bigger phones, Cook saw a market that was screaming for them. So in 2014, Apple did something it had never done. It gave people a choice. The iPhone 6 and the much larger iPhone 6 Plus were an admission that Apple was now willing to adapt to the market, not just dictate to it. This led to one of the biggest sales quarters in the company's history, though it also came with Bendgate, another hardware controversy that Apple had to manage. But Cook's real genius wasn't just selling more phones. It was building an inescapable gravitational pull around the iPhone. This was the second legacy, the legacy of the empire. It started quietly, with accessories that became hits on their own. The Apple Watch, launched in 2015, turned the iPhone into a health and fitness command center. Then came AirPods, which quickly became the most popular headphones on the planet. These weren't just add-ons, they were anchors. Each new device made the iPhone stickier, making it that much harder for someone to switch to a competitor. You weren't just ditching a phone, you were ditching an entire ecosystem of devices that worked seamlessly together. With the hardware ecosystem locked in, Cook played his final ace: services. He knew that in a world where everyone already has a great smartphone, the next wave of growth wouldn't come from just selling more hardware. It would come from recurring revenue. Apple Music, iCloud, Apple Pay, Apple Arcade, Apple TV Plus. One by one, Apple built a suite of subscriptions that turned the iPhone from a one-time purchase into a steady, continuous stream of revenue. This strategic pivot was enormous. While the iPhone still makes up over half of Apple's revenue, the services division is now the fastest growing and most profitable part of the company. In 2024 alone, Apple's services brought in nearly $96 billion. This is what transformed Apple from a hit-making product company into a global financial superpower. Under Steve Jobs, Apple's annual revenue grew to about $108 billion. Under Tim Cook, the company's revenue has skyrocketed, and its market value has shattered records, flying past an incredible $3 trillion. Cook doubled the company's revenue and profit in his first decade alone. So when you step back, you're left with one device but two very different legacies. Steve Jobs was the revolutionary. He gave us the lightning in a bottle, the breakthrough that changed everything. He was an artist who forged a perfect product, a device that redefined our entire relationship with technology. His leadership was demanding and visionary, focused on creating something nobody had even imagined. Tim Cook is the empire builder. He took that brilliant creation and made it the unshakable foundation of a global institution. His strategic and more collaborative leadership transformed Apple into an operational juggernaut. He built the ecosystem, the services, and the business model that will lock in the iPhone's dominance for years to come. Jobs gave us the iPhone, but Cook made it inevitable. The iPhone story is a powerful lesson in leadership. It shows that you need both a visionary to spark a revolution and a pragmatist to build an empire from its success. The question now is, what's next? As we head into an age of AI and new kinds of computers, will the iPhone stay at the center of our digital lives, or is a new revolution waiting to be sparked by another visionary leader? What was your first iPhone? And whose legacy do you think had a bigger impact? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories about the tech that shapes our world. Thanks for watching.